Welcome to part 9 of Superman in Media, the 12-part series where I take a look at the Man of Steel's foray into all things film, TV, cartoons, or video games. This time I will be looking at Superman's foray into video games. To keep things relevant, I am limiting myself to games solely about Superman, so things like Injustice or Justice League-centric video games will be left out. I will also be covering the cancelled Superman video games. So far, there have been 14 games based on Superman and the Superman characters, starting back in 1978 for the Atari 2600, with a licensed game very loosely based on the then new Superman the movie. The game saw the player take control of Superman, who had to repair a bridge destroyed by Lex Luthor and his thugs, then return to the Daily Planet as Clark Kent in the shortest possible time. This game was one of the earliest console games to feature a pause option while playing, allowing the player to pause the game mid-action. Games between 1978 and 1993 were all generally the same 2D platformer akin to Super Mario or other popular games during this period. 1993's The Death and Return of Superman changed the formula up into a beat-em-up game that allowed you to take control of the 5 Supermen seen in the Return and Death of Superman storyline. After these games, Superman games hit a bump, with games like Superman 64 arriving, a game so bad that it has become known around the world as one of the worst video games ever made. Superman games all but disappeared at the beginning of the new millennium, with small gems like the cel-shaded Superman the Man of Steel and Superman Returns quietly coming out to little or no critical acclaim. There have been a few cancelled or incomplete Superman games over the years, most not really getting past the concept phase however. Two of the more prominent ones came in the early and mid-2000s, the first being a PlayStation remake or port of the Superman 64 game, which was cancelled after the universal failure of the Nintendo 64 version. The game was finished, but Titus Software's rights for Superman expired, and the game was lost to the ethers of time. Next is one that probably had the most potential. Created by Factor 5, the studio behind the great Star Wars Rogue Squadron games, Superman, codenamed Blue Steel, was looking to be the next generation Superman game for the PS3 and Xbox 360. The game got so far into development that tech demos featuring Superman fighting Doomsday through Metropolis were made, showcasing the PS4 controls and wireless capabilities of the controller. Models of characters such as Superman, Doomsday, Calabac, Non, and General Zod were also designed. Concept art for Lex Luthor inside his parasuit was also released. The game, however, was cancelled when the company went bankrupt. So Superman video games is something that I have, and I know others have wanted for a very long time, at least a good one anyway, since we've had games like Superman 64 come out and be just absolutely terrible and also kind of scare developers into making a Superman game. I can understand the problems with making a Superman game, or at least a good one, because you have this character who has all these powers and you gotta find a way that's not the cliche, you don't start with powers, you have to get them in as power-ups and stuff like that. I can understand it, definitely, and I know people in the past, more recently though, have said that they want people like Rocksteady to do what they did with the Batman Arkham games with Superman, and I don't agree with that, mainly because it's that same age-old thing where Batman is not Superman and Superman is not Batman, so you can't chop and change them sort of things. Like a fighting system like in Arkham Asylum, the whole detective thing wouldn't work with Superman at all. You'd have to have a completely different system built with that, and in doing so they couldn't just copy and paste stuff over from those games, and they have to build it all up, and you don't know if they're good at doing that or anything. So there's a heap of different problems, but I've always thought that they could always just make a Superman game that was suit Superman's journey, like his origin and everything. We see him come to Earth, and that gives us time as a young Clark Kent in Smallville learning how to use use these powers and these powers developing. That so there's your like tutorial and learning how powers develop and everything. Like that's how you should do a game. It kind of makes sense as well, and it'd be pretty cool to see, you know, Smallville and everything in video games, which is something we've never seen before. But I think there is a lot of potential with Superman if he's done correctly. Like lately he's just been obviously involved in the Injustice game, so he's just like in a beat 'em up game, and I know a lot of people during like my research for this video, there's a lot of mobile games with Superman in. I left them out of here because they're mobile games, no one cares about them, and none of them were very good. But yeah, I don't think people have really got the right recipe for a Superman video game yet, and I think that's why we don't have any, and I'm kind of glad that we don't as well, that they're not just pumping out these video games that are literally the same like they were doing during the 70s, 80s and 90s with just 2D platformers. I'm kind of glad that that's not happening, and that if there's a developer that comes along and wants to do a Superman game and finds a way to do it, then yeah, it would definitely be really cool and I'd really enjoy it. I know some of these games that I played, these Superman games, I didn't play them all because I didn't have the consoles for them, but I think my first one I played was the one that was on the Sega Genesis, which is the one that came out in 1993 I think, and it was pretty fun and everything. But yeah, you want to be Superman, you want to be flying around and, you know, saving people in Metropolis, and that's kind of like what they were getting near with the Superman Returns game. I really liked that. I know a lot of people didn't, and I understand why they didn't like it, but I really liked being able to like fly around Metropolis really fast and fly really high, and there's like the Daily Planet, and it was Metropolis as you see in the comics as well. It had all the parts that you'd see in the comics and everything, and it was really good what they did with that game and the powers and everything. I really enjoyed that game. I know some people obviously didn't because of the controls and whatnot, and they were kind of a weird control scheme for that game, but I enjoyed it. So yeah, I guess that's the end of this Superman in Media. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. Definitely in the comments tell me what your favorite Superman game is. Tell me, like, if it doesn't have to be Superman centric. If you like Injustice, just tell me you like Injustice. But yeah, definitely tell me in the comments what your favorite was, what you'd like to see in a Superman video game, if done correctly, maybe who you'd like to see do it, like what developer. Definitely catch me on the next part. Thanks for watching. Remember to leave a comment in the comment section below, or follow the links on screen now to other reviews or topic videos. If you haven't already, remember to subscribe for more weekly reviews and videos.